So we just wrapped up a great episode, myself and Schalk talking about the upcoming CrossFit Open. We talk about, what the statistics are looking like in terms of how many people signed up. We share some thoughts on, a lot of the top athletes choosing not to partake in the Open and what that means for the sport. We also share what we're going to be doing this season and why we sign up. But most importantly, we talk about our next training cycle. The Process programming are going to be entering a 4-week cycle where we're going to be focusing on preparing our athletes to crush the CrossFit Open and the Process Open Throwdown. Enjoy. Schalk.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Why are you good?
Had a good training day. I'm here with you. That's really the main reason. Yeah, that's really all, to be honest.
Just mainly being here with you. Answer. We had a good weekend this weekend, didn't we?
We did, yes. Had a very successful athlete camp. Felt very grateful, I think, afterwards being part of not just the coaching team, but also the community of people that came through from all around Asia. It was a successful weekend.
Yeah, it was a very good weekend. Good vibes. I think we did a really good job. First competitors camp, as you said.
True.
So I think it's the first time we've had lots of people of the same ability level all in one camp, and I think that just made things like conversations, the workouts, the bants, it was just good. It was a good weekend. I'm feeling very fulfilled.
I think by default that made the intention of the weekend just a bit more like a bit higher, for lack of a better term, because people
and clear. I think it's
100%.
Easier for us knowing that we were catering to kind of one group of people versus normally our camps have all sorts of ability levels in them, but which makes it a little bit harder. Anyhow, Schalk, it was great to have you on the camp. I thought you did a fantastic job organizing the music.
That's really all I was there for.
No, you're a great contributor to the camp. It's just you always bring good energy. So yeah, really appreciate that. Okay, today we're talking about the CrossFit Open.
Yes, indeed.
Which by the time of this episode coming out is in 4 to 5 days.
I'm stressed already.
Isn't it mental though how fast this rolls around? Do you feel that? Does it roll around fast for you? Or is it
does.
slow?
It feels like just 1 week ago I was failing ring muscle ups.
Yeah, it actually was 1 week ago that you were failing ring muscle ups.
In the open workout, not in my training.
Yeah,
but yes, it rolls around very, very quickly. I feel like, because I remember after last year, I had a few things I wanted to work on, and I think I did, but it feels like the time I worked on them is very, very short and condensed because it feels like it was just a few months back.
What were those things that you wanted to work on?
Skills, mainly pulling capacity, like chest to bars, muscle ups, both ring and bar. Could do them last year, but not to I feel like a very good extent, both technique and capacity wise, and then just overall strength. That's always been a main thing I was struggling with.
I feel like you put in a lot of work on your strength. Like you had some periods where you weren't intensely focused on bringing up some of your numbers.
Yeah.
You definitely put on some size as well this year. That was a deliberate intention for you.
Yeah.
With your skill stuff, did you set a goal for the next season? Was it like, I want to be able to complete X number of muscle ups by this point? Or was it just like, I need to get better at it, I need to do more of them?
I don't think there was ever a specific number tied to it. It was always, I think, if I see that thing come up, I would feel a bit more confident that I can do them without having to stress that I'm now going to fail if I try a single rep.
So what was a plan to get you to that point where you would feel comfortable every time they popped up? Did you have one?
This is actually off the back of a conversation we had in one of the breakout groups on the athlete camp when we had to share something vulnerable or something we struggle with in training or outside of training. I've always been someone who doesn't really like to do things I'm not good at, full stop, and then even more so in front of people. So stuff like if there's muscle ups, if there's heavy snatches that I could potentially fail or something, I'd rather just not shy away from it, but do that by myself or do it when nobody else is looking. And that can then take 2, 3, 4 weeks out of training where I just don't do a muscle up at all because I don't want to do them in front of people that can do 15, 20, 25 reps unbroken. Whereas this year, I think I made an effort to, if they do come up, if everyone else does sets of whatever, and I can just do a set of 2, 3, 4, then I'm fine with doing those sets of 2, 3, 4 because you're still building some.
What had to change in your mindset to allow you to be comfortable? Because ultimately, I think the thing that's probably was stopping you doing it in front of people was, I don't know, embarrassment, fear
Yeah.
of judgment,
Yeah.
your self-worth, maybe like, as coaches, because I totally resonate
Yeah.
with your feeling. I've talked about this, I think, with you quite a bit. Like my example of that was anytime anything overhead came up, heavy split jerks, snatches, or any handstand push-ups, if that shit up in program, I'd literally go find the darkest
Take
corner
an easy
at the
day.
gym. Or yeah, I'd be like, nah, today's just gonna be a percentage thing.
Yeah.
So I definitely resonate with you. But so what in your eyes, what had to change within you to allow you to be comfortable doing that now in front of others? Because I've also seen it as well.
I think just understanding what I want out of my training and why I'm doing it, instead of, I think a lot of the times I think for me personally, I would almost look at myself and see the gap that I still have to get better, to be at a certain level of athlete. And that sometimes feels like it's a massive step, like a step too far sometimes. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to get there anyway, so I might as well just leave it.
What's the point?
Yeah. But then I think last year was the year where I got as close as I've ever gotten to qualify through quarterfinals, which we'll talk about in a later stage. It's not there anymore. But anyway, and that sort of made it seem like a more tangible thing for me to be able to actually reach my goal. Yeah. And I knew the steps that I need to take to get there would be to just do the thing. Even if it's not great in the beginning, doing the thing is still better than not doing the thing, whatever that might be.
So it's that like evidence stacking that we
Yeah,
always talk
100%.
about, right? You didn't have the evidence that told you actually this might be attainable.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you first said to me, Ed, do you think I can make it to semi-finals? I think I laughed at you.
We were sitting right in the
Yeah,
corner
we were sitting
there.
right there. And I said, I don't think you can based on, but then I gave context based on what you're currently doing. I don't think you're going to get there.
Yeah.
So I think something needs to seriously change. And I think you definitely, stepped up your output with your training. Then you had like a really good year in the quarterfinals last year where you were very close, just kind of just missed out in the African region. And I think, that was a confirmation, the evidence. It was like, actually, you can do this. So maybe you got to stop. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think that was the main thing.
Okay, nice. I think I'm thinking about what I said after last year's Open, which honestly I think is the same thing I've said after last like 7 Opens, which is that was fun, but number one, didn't prepare myself. So next year I'm gonna make sure I'm ready.
Now we're 1
And
week
here we are, 1 week out, and
Haven't
I'm
done
not. I'm not. But I think the last 2 years, my body just hasn't been great from normally the January window, right? When we tick over from December to January, that for me is normally like, okay, all I really need is a couple of months, just push myself a little bit harder, my body will adapt, and just gotta like basically fine tune my engine. I know I've got all the skills that I need are there. But then the last 2 years, that period has rolled round and like I've had like just a little niggle or something. I think this year, nowhere near as bad as last year. Last year, my knee was like a bit of a mess. I think post Asia Fitness Championships for me, my knee hasn't bounced back fully yet. I'd say like I'm like 80% there. Like it's just, I can feel it a little bit. And so for the last, basically since the turn of January, I've been like, okay, just give it a bit more rest. I think it's only just 1 more week is all it needs. And then the week comes and I'm like, I'm exactly the same place. So then I basically got to the point last year, I'm like, okay, am I doing more damage by pushing this? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think like I can do all the movements, just feels a bit uncomfortable. Maybe just by doing it, my body will adapt and I'll be okay. So I'm 1 week into that journey right now. I know it's too late. It's just stupid of me.
2 weeks is all you need.
Yeah. And I know, and I always say, I'll just do the Open, but just not push too hard. But I absolutely know. I've already said to Meg, we're going to be doing the first showdown workout, the coaches head to head, which is what we're going to do every week,
crush it as well.
which I'm going to destroy it. Yeah. And I know that the moment that workout starts, I'm going full tilt, and I'll probably be dead by week 3. Anyhow, so I did not.
That's what it's all about, eh?
Yeah, I didn't execute on my goals once again. But I'm just grateful that I feel like I'm healthy enough to take part in the Open this year. I'm looking forward to it.
Do you think you sometimes, do you think you sometimes undersell yourself a little bit?
In what sense?
Like it's almost like, I've got a small little niggle. I'll just see how I go. Because I mean, to be honest, like every single year, I personally get inspired by your performances that you do in the CrossFit Open with the lack of intensity, like intense training you do in the year. Yeah. Like, is that something you do and you're like, oh, well, I'm still able to do all of these things. There's no need for me to train that hard. Or is it like, why would you not take that and then push a little bit harder in the next year to be able to maybe even
Yeah.
excel even further.
I mean, like for example, last year,
Mm.
I think the first year I was in Masters, I just missed out on the Masters semifinals, and didn't even know that was. I hadn't even like paid attention to it. I was like, I'm just going to do the open workouts for fun,
Yeah.
do the quarterfinals for fun. And I think I was like 30 spots out in the 35 to 39 division. I was like, whoa, that's actually pretty close. It wasn't until honestly a year later, I was on Brian Friend's podcast. And when he introduced me to the podcast, he started reading out all my open statistics. And I was like, oh, no one's ever done that because I've never been like the athlete,
guy,
right?
yeah.
Because he was like, okay, Ant Haynes, 3 times CrossFit Games athlete, blah, 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 blah. Because we were on a podcast together. He's like, Ed Haynes. And I'm like laughing, thinking, what's he going to say? Like, coach and gym owner.
Mentor.
And he's like, in 2023, Ed finished this. I was like, whoa, shit.
You had no idea?
Didn't know.
Really?
Yeah. And, I cracked the top 1,000 in the world in 2017 or something, top 30, 40 in Europe. And I was like, in UK, sorry, not Europe. So I didn't even really know because I've never really looked at those statistics. I kind of just do it. Cause I think I really just let go of the competitive like athlete Ed, honestly, in 2016. That was the last year where I was like, now it's just gonna be for fun. This is gonna be something I'm gonna do every year. So I don't think I downplay myself. I just think that I've been lucky enough to spend a long time in the sport. So the skills, like I said, I feel like I have all the skills.
Yeah.
Like I can, like I did this year, I can not do a barbell snatch for 8 weeks. And I can still step in and know that I can hit 80% of it. It would just be like getting used to the heavy loads again. My technique doesn't seem to go. Same with chest bars and like, handstand walks. I'll just do them like once every few months. And so I think that doing what I do with my training is enough to be, round about probably the top 2%, but it's definitely not enough to push to like the top 1%. Like there's no way. When I look at my open results from previous years, where I was finishing like top 1,000 in the world and always back in the day, it was like what page in your continent you are. Like I was always on the first page in Asia. When I think about that, I'm like, okay, that was really pushing hard and I wanted it. But now I'm definitely quite a way off that. So I guess like I just still see myself maybe compared to old self, I'm like quite a way off where I used to be. But I think I always surprise myself, honestly, every year. I think the surprising myself is 2 parts. I'm like, wow, can't believe I can still push myself to do that. And then the second part is like, I can't believe everyone's not better.
That's very true.
Genuinely.
I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it's very frustrating.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I thought everyone would just be better than this now,
No.
But I mean, the open is definitely something that has always favored me more. Like the weights are lighter. The weights are lighter. Basically, that's the thing that crushes me and has always crushed me in the sport, right? So when it's just light, moderate stuff and it's more endurance based, that's typically better suited for me and like my genetic makeup and probably just my genetic makeup. And so always like, in the quarterfinals, that's where I'd probably really get highlighted. If the movements like aren't in my favor, if it's
the volume of work you have to do as well.
And the volume of work. By workout 5, I'm a mess. I remember like 2 years ago when I actually did the quarterfinals, like by the last workout, I was like, I can hardly bend.
That was a very
hips,
tough weekend for
knees, ankles, like literally everything. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this workout. And it was a 185-pound snatches. And I was like, I can't snatch an empty barbell right now.
Was that the weekend one of the lights didn't work in the gym?
Yeah. We had a half.
We all felt exactly the same as the gym felt as well.
That was tough. So I don't know. Like I always want to do it. Okay. So my question I was going to put to you was like, okay, let's forget the cliche answer to why you do the open. Yes, like we know it's good to push yourself, to work towards a goal, do something uncomfortable. I get all that. But tell me honestly, like what are some of the other, I have them as well. What are some of the other, like the deeper motives, maybe not deeper motives, but some of the other motives that keep you coming back to the open? Like as you say, well, maybe what are some like the quiet like milestones that you have that you keep in your head that you're like, I really want to do this, or I really want to beat this. I really want to beat this person, or I want to crush this person.
It's never, I don't like there's not like a rival. So that's not one of the reasons why I always want to.
Honestly, there is not a rival.
I mean, there's people that I don't want to lose to.
Okay, yeah. So
I mean, but I think like I'm not like ever super stressed about that, to be honest with you. But there's always like if I can just stay out of that, my sanity will be okay. I can sleep at night.
I agree. I have those people as well. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird one. I think how long have I been doing it for now? 5 years. So I think in context, compared to a lot of people in here, not actually that long that I've been doing the CrossFit Open for, I think because it's mainly the modality of training that I do, it's almost, it's not a default thing that we just do. I don't know. I actually haven't thought about why that actually, I don't know.
I definitely feel that it's something like the more I do it now, I would probably say since 2017, where the competitive side hasn't, it hasn't really represented anything in terms of like, I'm not trying to qualify the next round. I'm not trying to get to regionals anymore.
Yeah.
Now the quarterfinals isn't there. Does that change anything?
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't think for a long time those things haven't really driven me anyway. So for me, it's like, it's almost, there's a part of it is almost a FOMO.
Yeah.
It's like, I know that all my mates are going to be doing it in this gym. You know, my team's going to be doing it. A lot of my community is going to be doing it. They're going to be doing it every Saturday. I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, just big events where you also, when there's like a hard physical side to it as well, it's like there's that shared like suffering.
Yeah.
It's almost like a vulnerability thing, right? It creates deeper connections.
Yeah.
And like it allows me to create deeper connections with our community when I know that I'm doing it with them. You know, if I didn't do it, I don't think it would affect my connections at all, to be honest. But I think there's that part of me that like I love sport where it's like participation in an official an event and you're doing it. And I also know, yes, it's hard, but I also like there's people I want to beat.
Yeah.
I like that. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I want to make sure that I beat you. Because I know and I also know we're pretty 50-50.
Yeah.
Right. There's lots of workouts that have come out which you would destroy me on. There's not many that I would destroy you on. But there's a few that I could sneak you on. But there's nothing really that I'm going to destroy you on. Okay, maybe if it's like a lot of ring muscle ups.
It's just ring muscle ups.
Yeah. If it's a lot of bar stuff, okay, maybe. But it's not a destroying. But if it's like handstand push-ups, then I'm gone.
So you're throwing the gauntlet right now.
Yeah. Well, so that's one. Like, Karan, I never want to lose to Karan in a workout. Ever.
Have you ever?
No. I mean, he beats me on like a Saturday tester by like a second. He's like, the gap is closing. That's his favorite thing.
He's also scaled the loads.
But I genuinely think he's like beating me in one. Maybe it wasn't even a Saturday test. It was like a conditioning piece at the end of a Wednesday, and he beat me by like a second in it or something because there was loads of handstand push-ups and deadlifts or wall walks or something. So Karan's definitely one guy. Just because he talks so much shit.
Yeah,
and he really like he's extremely delusional. And I just, because I call him delusional all the time, in a joking way, by the way. I want nothing but the best for him. But because I like calling him delusional, like if I keep him calling him delusional and he actually beats me one day,
then
yeah, he's gonna have bragging rights for a year. And that's the thing. I can't.
He's also gonna deal with him every single day.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna do it as well.
I really enjoy beating Meg.
Yeah, that's easy.
That's
easy as well, though.
Yeah, because she puts a lot of work. It really like puts a lot of work into it. And I like that I can just stroll in and just crush her.
Yeah. After 12 months of just cruising.
Yeah, exactly. After doing nothing at all. The only thing is, I think that Meg is actually really fit this year. Like, I think there's a high likelihood that I'm not going to be her in many workouts.
There's only one South African in here. I'll be on top, and we all know who that is.
Yeah, Meg's got all the physical capabilities, but when it comes to like suffering. That's what she doesn't have.
Between the ears.
That's one thing you just can't teach, you know?
No.
I think that's maybe another advantage I have. I know how to dig deep when most just quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very true.
I mean,
just say this is not the roast of our team. We are going to get to talking about the Open.
Yes, that's true. Okay, anyway, so I'm just going to admit, I like signing up for the Open because I also not these personal vendettas, but these like certain things that just like feel really nice in my ego when I actually beat people, especially in my gym.
Yeah,
I know I won't rub it in their faces, but it's just something I
definitely will.
Okay, it's just nice to have in my back pocket, you know. It's nice to have in my back pocket to pull out when I need to. That it's like, just remember, I completely destroyed you 11 months ago.
You every day for the next month.
Exactly.
Before we train. I think I agree with that one. It's also, for me, if like when I got into the sport, I had a very big admiration for people at the top of CrossFit.
The top being like the games?
Yes. And just people who do fucking cool shit in general. Like, I admire those people, and I sometimes, this is going to sound so sad, I sometimes wish, or I would like to be someone that other people admire as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And right now, like, that can be obviously mean so many different things. That can mean just me as a person or me as an athlete in brackets. And I think the CrossFit Open almost pushes me into the athlete
It's like
direction.
the sporting hero.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
there's
Which
a
I'm very far away from, but that's essentially one of the reasons why I keep on doing it.
not really, mate, because I do not class myself as a sporting hero. You just said that I inspire you.
Yeah, but I never called you my hero.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, you are probably inspiring a lot of people, but I agree with
Yeah.
that. Like, I've always put athletes
Mm.
on a bit of a pedestal because that's always something that's like really, they're like the gods
Yeah.
to me. Professional athletes who just are the best at the top
Yeah.
of their game. And I think that's honestly what really attracted me to the sport, because it's like how High Rocks crown all, all these world champions. Like,
Yeah.
you can qualify to world champs, and that's a beautiful thing about High Rocks, is that you can make it to the final stage of competition even if you're just kind of like an everyday fitness person. I think that was what was cool about CrossFit, is I saw a potential path for me to get to the top. And then obviously after a couple of years, I realized how disillusioned I was, and I let go of that journey. But the fact that I could do it was also driven by the fact that it's like, I want to be one of those top 50 guys. Because I just, that feeling is
The Instagram bio.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the main reason.
Okay, so I wanted to quickly interrupt this episode with a quick shout out to our sponsors, Today Well Spent. I've been using this journal for 2 years, and it has made a massive impact on my physical, but mostly my mental well-being. It is a guided journal backed by neuro and behavioral science, which I actually didn't know at the time. It has questions for you to answer at the start of the day, at the end of the day, end of every week, end of every month. And it's brought so much self-awareness to me of the things that positively and negatively impact my life. So if you're someone who cares about your physical and your mental well-being, which I think you do because you listen to this podcast, then go and grab yourself a Today Well Spent. Use the discount code THEPROCESS, one word in capitals, to get your discount. Okay, talking about like heroes and competitors, there's a lot of athletes right now who are posting about not taking part in the CrossFit Open, and I think we got stats as well. What's the IG account that keeps them, that's sharing all the stats?
It is known and unknowable.
Known
the other
and
ones
unknowable,
that's tracking it, then Schalk just reposted it. So what they've been doing for the past 33 days since the open registration opened up is every single day they've been posting the difference in signups this year compared to last year.
Yeah.
We are currently on day 33. I'll give the numbers first. So last year CrossFit had 141,796 signups.
All divisions.
Yes, I assume so. This year we have 95,956. That's a difference of 32.3%.
Okay, so that's
down.
actually closing, because when it started, it was more like 50%, right?
It's closing a little bit. The graph started very, very close, but actually now if you look at the gap as it goes, the gap is actually broadening a tiny bit because the actual signups normally increases the closer they got as well.
Yeah.
And that gap is getting bigger now. That like the last stretch of signups isn't increasing as fast as it did last year. It seems like.
Got it. Okay, and obviously a big part. Well, I think we know why that's happening. We don't need to talk about all the things that have happened in the last few years. We've done another podcast on that already. But more recently, like a lot of the inspirational athletes that you can, have inspired you and inspired me, a lot of them have come open on social media to say that they're not going to be taking part in the CrossFit Open this year. A lot of them have been saying that they're going to be taking part in the World Fitness Project, which is kind of a breakaway for the top level of the sport. We're going to see how that all unfolds because it's going to be its first year. But what are your thoughts on do you have any opinions on seeing all these athletes putting on social media saying they're not going to be partaking in it?
I mean, I agree with it for the reasons that they give from a personal standpoint, whatever they feel like their stance needs to be to potentially create change. I completely agree with that. I think if I look at it from my point of view, if you have the CrossFit athlete who does, let's say, qualify to the games or semifinals, and they by default will probably qualify for the World Fitness Champs as well, like they have a second option. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas your average Joe every single day CrossFit person, the only thing they have in the year to essentially compete in is the CrossFit Open. That's why I think we still see a big chunk of people still holding on to signing up for it. But yes, I agree with people pulling out for the reasons like the professionalism of the sport needs to change, how certain situations are handled needs to change. To be honest, for myself, I'm not really sure if I haven't given it that much thought whether I'm signing up or not. I'll definitely do the workouts and stuff and see where I'm at. But I haven't actually sat down and thought of the reasons why I'm signing up or potentially might not sign up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to sign up
Yeah.
for sure. I think my stance, I agree. I agree with all their reasons. I think for the most part, the athletes have been transparent
Yeah.
with as to why they're not doing it. And absolutely, I mean, respect everyone's opinion. They're totally entitled to it.
Mm.
I think for me, I still very much believe in the brand. It's been a
Yeah.
rough few years, and I think the next 3 to 6 months I think we're gonna have to find some answers. I think we're gonna see some answers. When
Yeah.
the Open officially starts, there's gonna be an official, okay, this is how many people actually signed up to the Open this year, and that's gonna be either like a massive, wake up call
Yeah.
to say, holy shit, like, because it's already been lower, from previous years. So once the official open registration date is passed and we have official numbers, that's going to be a pretty big thing,
Yeah.
right? If we're down 50% from last year, you can't argue with that. That's always how what CrossFit has used to be like, this is where our business and sport is going.
Yeah.
So that's inevitable in less than a week.
Yeah.
We're gonna see those statistics. And then I think, once the 3 weeks of the Open is done, I think there's going to have to be, it's time for statements because, all these athletes, coming out and saying, very loyal athletes as well, been in the sport for a really long time. I think by the time the Open rolls around next year, we're gonna either be fully on board and like, okay, I'm backing it, or is this like a massive time for change?
Yeah.
Is a World Fitness Project gonna be the competitor that maybe CrossFit needed?
Yeah, to step their game up again.
Yeah, just to step the game up. They've had, such a monopoly of functional fitness now for so long.
Yeah.
But High Rocks are in the game now. They're competing with a similar market.
Yeah.
You got the turf games, and you've got lots of iterations of High Rocks races. Functional fitness racing.
That seems to be currently doing
Yeah,
a lot larger numbers than what
going
CrossFit's
bonkers
doing.
right now. And then you got World Fitness Project. Like, where's that going to go? So maybe this is actually a really good thing. Because it's going to force you to step up your game. And I think we're all going to see how they respond soon. So, I mean, my last point on this is that, I don't think the methodology of gymnastics, weightlifting and monostructural exercise is going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because it's a great methodology that I think a lot of people really love. But is that going to be under the name of CrossFit? Or is that going to be something else? Or is there a new sport that's going to merge? Or is a methodology is not going to have a name and it's going to be broad functional training, and you put your own prescription on it? I think we're going to find that all out probably next year. And I think for me, it's too early for me to make a call on if that's something I want to be a part of or not. I want to see what change happens. And for now, I'm going to be a supporter of it because they've done a lot for me, and I know that change takes time. So yeah, that's my stance on it.
Yeah. I think the biggest frustration, I think, amongst a lot of people is just the obviously the lack of transparency. But I feel like people always think like every year there's something that changes.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's always unhappiness around whatever these changes might be, whether it's standards, whether it's structures of the year. And I feel like people just feel like they always get away with whatever these changes are. Like there's like a small uproar, and then it sort of dies down a little bit. Whereas this is the first time it's been like, okay, well,
there's nothing else. There has never been anything else. So
Yeah.
you got nowhere else to go. Then you're going to accept it and just get on, or otherwise you're just going to be on your own. So I think that's why competitions is actually a good thing for it. Okay. Right. Because we're about to start the Open, I want to talk about our training cycle, what we're doing here at the Process Programming. Talk about a little bit about programming, kind of what to expect over the next few weeks. So we always write our training programs in training cycles, and we call this now a competition cycle. What that means is that we've got 3 weeks where the biggest priority in this cycle is actually going to be the CrossFit Open. Right. So whether or not you sign up officially, we're going to be running our own leaderboard, our own little competition called the Process Open Throwdown. We're going to use the Open workouts.
Sign up, it's free as well.
And it's free of charge for Process subscribers and affiliate owners, affiliates only. Anyhow, so that's going to be like our own little thing. We're going to use the Open workouts each week. It's totally free. You don't need to sign up to CrossFit Open. So we always do Saturday testers, right? So the Saturday tester is our breakaway from the structure from the week, and we do something hard on a Saturday to give athletes a chance to step out of their comfort zones, practice the idea of like creating a strategy, filming themselves, racing against other people, etc., etc. So this is basically going to be 3 different Saturday testers that aren't going to be written for us. That's a way that we can look at it. So when we think about the training and the rest of the week, it's really all about managing volume and intensity so that when the Saturday rolls around, our athletes at our affiliates and online are in the best shape possible to give it their best attempt. That's probably the simplest way I can put it. So, we've written out our template now for what the next 3 weeks is going to look like. And we'll kind of dive into that in just a second. I think as a programmer, the Open is always, it's a really fun time to program, but it's also quite a challenging time to program, because we're so used to writing, training cycles, 6 to 8 week cycles where we have, a structure in place that we more or less follow for that 6 to 8 weeks. And it might be, every week is more or less the same, and just we're progressing exercises or intensity over the weeks, or we use things like A and B templates where every other week it's changing slightly to give people a bit more variance. But basically that structure is like our roadmap to tell us when we sit down each week, okay, what do we roughly want to be hitting in this session? But now basically those guidelines kind of get totally thrown out because we are now at the mercy of what comes out in the CrossFit Open workout. So basically what we do, we write the week in advance because we always want to give our subscribers the whole week in advance. But then on Friday morning, when the workout comes out, we basically got to wake up, look at that workout, and then basically look at what we've written that day, the next day, and for the next week, and be like, okay, do we need to make any changes? Because essentially what happens during an open cycle, and this goes the same for any competition, is that if the priority is the competition, then the movements in the training need to be focused around what might come up, because we're trying to build confidence with our athletes so that if a thruster comes up next week, we want to make sure they've done some thrusters in the week so that they're going to be confident going into the workout. And so it's kind of like a guessing game, right? We have to predict each week, okay, what do we think is going to come out this week? We write the whole program of the whole week around that. And then we got to see if our prediction is right. And if it's right, then okay, we didn't need to change anything really. If it's completely wrong, we got to go back to programming like
just overhaul the whole
week.
Basically
in 20 minutes, try and change everything. So we're not doing the same movement patterns. We're not doing the same intensity. And we're like, we're managing people a bit better. I think for an example, like, if the open workout is a really heavy workout and maybe 2 days later we programmed a really heavy strength session, we're gonna have to change that because we can't be doing too much heavy back to back. Similarly, if it's like a really light conditioning based workout and it's long and it's really metabolically challenging and we've done that again on a Monday, then we've got to change that. Movement selection as well. If on Monday we program heavy cleans or just cleans and chest to bars, and the open workout is cleans and chest to bars, we're gonna have to change that as well. So a bit of like a bit of a challenge. We've got to navigate. We've got to stay super flexible.
There's a bit more flexibility across the week, really.
Yeah. So we basically nailed out that template now, and we're gonna just quickly share with you kind of what we have for each day. So the way that we've done this, I'll lead and you just jump in. We basically, like always, we work backwards from the most important day in the week. And the most important day in the week right now for the next 3 weeks is going to be the CrossFit Open workout. So we write down on Saturday, CrossFit Open workout. Then we basically take ourselves a day before that. Okay, what would we want our athletes to do the day before they're going to have to do a CrossFit Open workout? So for us, we're probably going to do like some touches on some strength work. And again, what that strength movement is, it might be a squat, it might be a deadlift, might be a press, might be a pull-up, or it might be like a moderate heavy Olympic lift. We're just guessing right now. We're basically saying, okay, well, this might not come out week 1, so let's put it in on the Friday. So we're gonna do some strength maintenance, and then basically from there, we're just gonna do some easy conditioning. This is gonna be kind of like a easy to moderate breathing day. We're going to probably do this on machines where it's like, low risk of injury, get the heart rate up, get some like touches on some intensity, but nothing's going to take away from the workout the next day. Or what we'll often do in our affiliates is that when the workout comes out, we might run like a broken down version of the workout so that they can get some touches on it, build a strategy, then come in the next day and hit the workout. Are you doing the workouts on a Friday or Saturday? So what are you thinking?
Probably we normally do Friday mornings.
Yeah. Let's stick with that.
Yeah,
me too.
And then it gives more time for redos if you ask to do them again.
Anything to add on that, Schalk?
No, I think if we go over the whole week, I think we'll
keep on moving.
Yeah.
Cool. So then we simply just work back from that. So then we go to Thursday, then Wednesday, and the last day we kind of finish with is going to be the Monday. So let's just give you a quick heads up on what's going to be happening on Thursday. This is going to be like definitely an easier training day.
Yeah.
We're going to be starting with some skill work. or just incorporating some skill work in there. Again, thinking about just giving our athletes confidence should a certain movement pop up in the open, that they know they've done it. So for example, in our first week, we're going to be working on some double unders, maybe even some crossovers, even some double crossovers for the people who have the high skill, who've nailed the double unders. And then we're going to be doing some like moderate aerobic conditioning work, getting some muscle endurance work in there, but it's going to be a pretty low skill day other than the isolated skill work. Then we work back. So we're now on Wednesday. So this is basically, if you're doing the open one on Friday, then this is 2 days before. If you're doing the open on a Saturday, it's 3 days before. This for us is going to be like our last hard training day. So here we're going to do some touches on some heavy Olympic lifts. Nothing maximal, but like we want to be probably like getting towards 80% ideally, so that we actually are touching on the heavy stuff. We'll definitely include some form of skill work in there. It might be mixed and under fatigue, or it might be isolated. And then we're going to be doing like what we call a stinger. So a stinger is basically something that's typically around 2 minutes to 3 minutes, and it's like really hard. So we're getting people to push to something that's close to the intensity of a CrossFit Open workout. Like you imagine you're doing a 50-minute AMRAP and you're getting to the last 2 minutes and you're really digging deep and pushing. We want people to experience that a couple of days before the open, because if you just kind of pull back all the intensity, you often arrive at competition where the intensity is needed and you feel flat.
Yeah, you can't.
Mentally, physically, just like don't have it in you. So it's important that we expose people to it, but we're not doing too much of it. So we're not making this like a hard conditioning training session, but we're going to give you like a touch. Like maybe you can do one easy set, then you're going to do one really hard set.
Yeah.
Then we work back to Tuesday, because we like to kind of alternate between easy, moderate, and hard days. So we're not doing consecutive hard days. Tuesday is definitely going to be our easier day, right? This is going to be like our zone 2, zone 3 aerobic conditioning. Either it's going to be continuous, or it's going to be interval based, lower skill work. We still think people should come in and do some movement here, but this is not the day where we're going to be crushing it and finishing on our backs. And then when we look at Monday, so the start of the week, this will either be, well, this is basically going to be 2 days after an open workout. This is going to be more of like our strength and our lifting day, depending on, of course, what comes out. But we want to touch on some strength work. So maybe some Olympic lifts, maybe some squatting, some deadlifting, and then probably just some like strength support works, maybe some pressing, some pulling. But this will be low on the conditioning side of things. You got any thoughts on any of that, Scott, you want to add?
I think the structure currently is not actually that different from what our rest of the year looks like anyway. I think just one thing, we are currently writing this week out for people doing the open workout on a Saturday. So if people are doing it Friday mornings or Monday, they can just tailor the week however they need to. If they have to pull the rest day or the easier day a little bit earlier, they can do that. So just be flexible, essentially.
That's a good point.
In your week.
I think as well, it's really important to remember, like whenever we move into a competition phase, we know that the intensity of these CrossFit Open workouts are going to be higher than what we're probably used to.
Yeah.
Just given the fact that, the whole world is doing it. We've been prepping people for 7 weeks. We're going to have judges there. There's going to be, everywhere, there's going to be this kind of like electric environment that's going to force you, whether you intend to do it or not, a little bit outside. It's going to push you a little bit outside your comfort zone. And because the intensity is going to be higher, even if it's just for one day, it's really important that we got to factor that into our lives. So the thing I always remind people is like, okay, listen, if now your stress bucket is going to be a little bit more full, if you want to make sure that that bucket does not overflow, you're going to have to do some coping strategies to make sure that we keep it in check. So I always think about it in 2 ways. Number one, it's like, well, can we lower the amount of other stresses that we have in our week? Right. So can we like try sleep a little bit more? Can we like take on a little bit less work? Can we like
eat a little bit more as well?
Can we eat a little bit more, which would be like managing it as well? Can we bump up the calories a little bit? Can we improve the food quality? Like, can we go less processed and focus on more, whole foods? Lower inflammation, for example. Can we prioritize sleep more, get more quality and get more quantity as well? Can we maybe say less, a little bit, can we say no more to things like social interactions, late nights? I mean, maybe that actually like fills your bucket, but I think you've got to keep that in mind. I think for people who especially are already busy and maybe are already quite stressed and have their buckets, which are pretty full in general, if they add the CrossFit Open to it and nothing else changes, then there's a really high likelihood that you're going to probably end up sick,
Yeah.
feeling a little bit burnt out, maybe a little bit injured by the time the Open rolls around.
It's going to be a tough 3 weeks.
And it's tough, which has basically been me for the last few years.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who, lives generally a more stress-free life, you've got, plenty of room to do more stressful things, then maybe adding the CrossFit Open and not changing anything up is going to be totally fine for you, and you're going to be able to bounce back. I think as well, if you're someone who's used to training with a lot more volume and intensity, like, a lot of the guys and girls on our elite program, the Open is just another workout. Right? They're pushing with that level of intensity most of the year anyway. It's probably not going to have a negative impact on you, unless of course you start repeating workouts like Ant does, 3 open attempts in 3 days, then that's going to start to add up. So I think, just a reminder to everyone, it's like, we are in a competition phase now. Generally speaking, physical and mental stress is going to be a little bit higher, because that's what happens when you sign up to competitions. To make sure you're doing all you can outside of the gym to just balance you out so you don't overtip.
Would you, for somebody who does not sign up, who's not planning on signing up for the Open, would that week, I mean, the week is still set up in a way for them to keep the Saturday as just a Saturday tester, and then still push their strength work Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays? I don't think that this is basically just for everyone who's doing the CrossFit Open. There's still opportunities in the week for you to push somewhere else if that is not a priority for you for the next couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Or maybe you're someone, who follows the program, like you said, you're not doing the Open and you never do Saturday tests anyway. That's not like one of your training days in a week. In which case, this training program is still going to be great. It's still going to be balanced. We're going to make sure we're hitting all muscle groups, all the energy systems. We're still going to be making sure we're balancing out easy, moderate, and hard days, so we're not, trashing our athletes. So absolutely, if you're just going to do it for fun and you're not going to hit it with full intensity, this is still going to be a great training program like any other. Yeah, good point. I think it's also important to say that after this 3 weeks, we're going to have a 1 week deload phase where we're going to kind of more aggressively pull back on the intensity. Probably give people, probably by this point, are a little bit sick of CrossFit. So we're probably going to take out, like all the more high skill complex stuff, give people's bodies a bit of a break. And then pretty crazy, we're going to be into programming for the next season. So 2025, 2026 year.
Which will be a different segue into the next year because we don't have quarterfinals anymore. So instead of tapering a bulk of our athletes for that, it's just going to be straight into basically a reload phase for next year.
So I think that's a good point. I'm glad you raised that. I think a lot of people, especially top 25 percenters, who are loving the fact that they had this chance to qualify to something else. They were pretty gutted, I think, about the quarterfinals being removed. I think for them, again, I think we all want to be athletes, right? We all want to be those people who are progressing within whatever it is that we're doing. So I think for a lot of those guys and girls, understandably, they feel like, what's the point? That was the thing that I was striving for. I'll say from a programmer standpoint, it's a lot better for us. It was really as much as I love the CrossFit Open, it was such a minefield to navigate because we have 4 different programs, right? We've got Live, Perform, Compete, Elite, and we basically had 4 different groups of people with different goals
in the same class,
all happening in the same class. And so basically what would happen is that Live and Perform, we would assume, okay, your season's going to finish with the CrossFit Open, but because they moved it to 25%, half of our Perform athletes progressed, half of them didn't. So it was like, well, how do we do this? We've got to basically the Open would finish and then we'd be getting Perform, Compete, and Elite people ready for the next stage of the season. But Live and Perform would they were done. And that was really hard because the program would have to diverge, but we're running this in a group class. So, and it would mean we'd have to have so many different programs on the go at all times. So now this is really nice. Our Live, Perform, Compete program, the Open finishes, we have a 1 week deload, season finishes, and we just start rebuilding for the next year. Our Elite program, however, they're going to be continuing to, focus on next stages. A lot of our athletes are going to be doing maybe team stuff, maybe partners, age group, or even striving. A lot of them are going to be striving to qualify for semifinals as an individual.
So the Community Cup as well coming up.
Yeah, we got the Community Cup. So I think for us,
look forward to.
Yeah, we're not really sure about that yet because there's not been that much information. I'm also interested to see is this going to be a big thing? Is this going to be a second CrossFit Open where the whole world gets involved, there's loads of hype, in which case I would probably love to get involved in that and make sure that our gym is supporting that movement and we have a cool I think it's just over 5 days, right?
Yeah, I think so.
We have a cool period where
Yeah.
we celebrate that as well. Or if it's just this really good idea that no one buys into, then yeah, I don't know. But I think right now it's not something we're going to be peaking people
Yeah.
for next year. We're just going to keep people decently fit all year like we normally do. And then yeah, should that be a thing, then we're going to be ready to do
I'll
it.
be ready to go.
Nice, Schalk. I think that covers pretty much everything with regards to what we're going to be doing for the Open. If you're someone who's thinking or looking for a community and you love what we're doing at the process, I would say this is just as good a time as any time to be a part
100%.
of it. The process Open Throwdown is going to be a lot of fun. So every week, every Friday, this goes out to everyone in the world. We're going to be putting out our strategy and tips videos to help you basically take on your CrossFit Open attempt. That will be posted on Friday in the late afternoon Hong Kong time. We're going to be doing predictions, which is always fun. We're going to be doing some stupid shit and posting it online with regards to what we think might be showing up each week.
Normally very, very accurate.
Actually, one of them last year.
You got very close last year. Which one was it?
Yeah, one of them was really close.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was though.
Anyhow, and then we're going to be having our update show. We're going to dive into leaderboards. We're hoping to have over 400 people in the Open Throwdown across all our affiliates and our online subscribers. We'll have our little showdown update show where we'll dive into all our leaderboards. Highlight some of the great performances and our community members from all over the world. That's always a good laugh as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Why did you not put your hand up to go head to head with me for one of the showdowns? Why did you choose me?
I'll tell you why. Because you immediately put your hand up and called out Karan.
That was just a joke. I knew he wasn't going to do it. He can't bend over.
Exactly. That's why you called him out. I would love to. I said I'd do it all 3 weeks.
You did not say that.
I said it in my head.
No, what you said was, if there's an easy week, I'll do that easy week.
Yeah.
If there's anything overhead or squatting,
I still stand by that. I still absolutely stand by that.
Still gonna crush Megan though.
You might need to be on standby.
I'll be ready
for week 1. Yeah,
I'll be ready.
But Schalk, if you want to go head to head, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, soon.
On the ring muscle up week.
I'm not doing that week. I'm not doing it.
Okay, Schalky, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me as well.
Thank you very much.
We've also been working together quite closely on writing the programs for LPC. That's been really nice to have another set of eyes and more ideas to bounce off. So yeah, thank you very much for that as well.
Thank you for your time with that as well.
Always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before we say goodbye, here's one crazy statistic for you. Did you know that almost 40% of people who listen to the show don't actually subscribe to it? Now, I didn't think that was a big deal until I actually learned about the power of hitting subscribe. For you, the listener, you get to stay up to date when we drop episodes on a weekly basis. But for us as a podcast, it really helps our visibility and helps us attract great brands and great listeners to help grow this podcast. So if you enjoyed this episode or you're a big fan of the show, please do us a massive favor and hit subscribe. Thank you so much.